Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I assume we're on television now, although I haven't heard anything in my... we are. Okay, so I've gotten confirmation that we are live. Welcome to RobPatry Live. It's a beautiful night in St. Andrews by the Sea. Now, tonight's going to be a little scary, a little creepy, a little macabre, because as our special guest this evening, we have Ms. Felicity Cooper of Ghost Walks of St. Andrews by the Sea. Is it of St. If I say that properly?
Ghost Walks of St. Andrews by the Sea. No,
see, I have to tell you, Felicity, I have to memorize things before the show begins. And there's a lot going on up here. I know it looks like there isn't, but there is a lot. So having to remember that long name was a little difficult. But
that's okay.
Here you are.
Thank you for
So
having
how
me on
are
the
you
show.
this evening? Thank you for coming.
Oh, no, thank you for having me on the show.
A little warm.
I'm very warm.
But you're comfortable.
Yes, I am.
Which is good.
Yes,
so we're here to talk about a little bit about the ghosts of St. Andrews, some stories, some haunted places to visit, and then maybe some generic ghost stories from around the province, around the country, maybe even around the world.
Around St. Andrews.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. Now, you're not from around here, are you?
No,
I can tell.
I'm not. The accent gives it away.
It does. And where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Reading, Berkshire in England.
In England?
Yes.
And what brought you to Canada?
An ex-husband.
An ex-husband, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have to get all personal
I know,
here.
he's not that
you know,
kind
and
of
no, but there's no warrants out for your arrest or anything, are there?
I wouldn't have thought so.
No,
And even
okay.
if there is, I have the keys to the jail.
Okay, so you're...
I actually am a Monopoly board. I can get out of jail for it.
Oh, you got a free card, so
Yes.
we're in good shape.
Yeah.
Okay, so you came to Canada, and how long have you been here?
I came in 1995, and I lived in Toronto first.
Toronto, that's where I'm from. So, not originally, but I lived there for a
city.
lot of years.
Lovely city.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what brought you to St. Andrews?
I was passing through on a holiday in 2002, and I loved it so much. I moved back here in a very short time, and I believe a lot of people in town, I don't know if it's a calling of the fog from the Bay of Fundy,
Yes.
but the fog here reminds me so much of England.
You're-
Moved here, lock, stock and barrel.
And do you like the fish and chips here?
Love the fish and
Yeah,
chips.
better than England, or?
Beer better than England.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Well, why is that?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the fish are bigger here. I don't know. But I do like fish and chips.
And yeah, they are very good here.
Yes.
So now, how long have you been involved with the Ghost Walks?
This is probably my third summer walking out as misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor. Now that's your AKA.
Yes.
Which means also known as.
Exactly.
And that's your nom de plume, if you will,
Yes.
as you're taking the folks around.
That's right. Because innocent or guilty, everybody goes to jail, and a misdemeanor is an offence.
And how did you start to get involved with the Ghost Walks?
Well, I've always loved history, and I've always loved ghosts, so it made perfect sense to combine the two.
And don't you find the history here fascinating?
Oh, I love it, and it's such a loyalist town.
Yeah.
I feel like I've gone home, except you're driving on the wrong side of the road.
Right. So other than that, you're right at home. Okay. Did you
Exactly.
have deer back home in England running
Oh,
around?
yes. In fact,
Okay.
the deer roam around Windsor Park in Greater London.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
you're used to that.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
And the fog and the fish and chips and
And the
everything sort
beer.
of makes you feel, and the beer, yeah,
Ah,
lovely,
just that
great.
driving on the wrong side of the road that
Right.
gets
Now,
me.
but you don't do that, of
no,
course.
no, but I've seen a few other people do it.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
these things happen.
Yeah, they do
Now, this
indeed.
is a live call-in show, and I
Yes,
always
it
give out
is.
the number, 1-855-529-8826. So if you have any questions for Felicity about ghosts around town, or you've seen something, or just something generally about the paranormal activity you would like to discuss with us, we'd love to hear from you, because this is something I think a lot of people love, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and I have to mention that, yes, we have had a lot of paranormal teams do overnight investigations in the jail.
Really?
Yes, and there is a very good reason that we do not let the public in after dark. it is beyond scary.
Now,
Yeah.
now tell me a bit about the jail. Now, I haven't been on one of these ghost walks, and you've invited me
Yes.
to come, which I certainly will, and I'm very fascinated to see what's going on around here. But I know nothing about the jail, so sort of give me a bit of an overview of
well, the original
what's
jail
going
and
on
courthouse were built on Water Street, near where the town office is now. And it was a great idea at the time. You had the jail on the bottom and the court on the top. So you received your sentence upstairs and you were supposed to serve it downstairs. However, when they built that building, they actually built it directly on the ground, which meant at low tide and during the evening hours, the inmates would escape. And it became such a problem that they actually held the sheriff of this town accountable for every single escape, and they sued him on every single escape too.
Okay, now I have to ask you. Okay, so the water, I assume the water is coming in.
Yes. Well,
So what, do they swim away? Is that,
no, they would probably just walk out.
well, is there bars? Like, is it that
No,
kind
there
of?
wasn't. Well, they just dug underneath the walls because the ground was dirt, like the floor was dirt.
But you said there's a jail there, so.
No, there was the jail on the bottom and the courthouse on the top. It was
Okay,
one
so
unit.
they go downstairs
To serve their sentence.
to serve their
not-
sentence, and then when the tide comes in, they escape.
Tide went out.
The tide went out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
after
okay, go ahead.
In
sorry.
1816, town met and decided they needed to build a jail that, one, you would not want to return to, and two, that you would not have an easy escape from. And it actually took 16 years to complete. And it opened in 1832, and it closed as a functioning jail in 1979.
Oh.
That's not an error, 1979.
So that's not long ago at all.
No, not really.
Now, is this building is still standing? That's the one that
yes,
you take.
it is. It's a home to the Charlotte County Archives.
Okay.
And it's right next door to the courthouse on Frederick Street.
Okay, so now is the jail still downstairs, or do they
Yes,
change
the jail at the bottom half of the building is open for tours during the day, and it's where we take everybody on the ghost walks. Upstairs, what used to be the cells upstairs for men, women, and debtors, because if you owed money, that's where you went. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I don't. We're going to skip that whole part.
That's okay.
So if I owe something,
If you owed money as a
but
debt,
as long as I'm paying it off, I'm good, right?
sometimes you would be discharged if somebody owed your debt.
Okay.
To pay it off. But
Okay.
those are now air-controlled vaults, which hold all the goodies, as I put it.
Okay, so now, Felicity, you said this was opened in
60. It started work in 1816, opened in 1832.
1832. So this is obviously prior to Confederation.
I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah,
I
because
don't
that
know
was
my-
1867.
Okay.
Yeah, we just had our.
150.
There you go.
150.
So if we go 2017 less 150, we should come up with 1867.
Yeah.
So who was running the jail at the time? Was it this town of St. Andrews?
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then, was there hangings and?
Oh, there were a lot of hangings in the town square.
Really?
Yeah.
And where was the town square?
Where the town square is now.
It's still in the same spot.
Yeah, yeah.
And people are getting hanged.
Yes.
So what were offenses for hangings then?
Oh, infanticide, incest.
Incest.
Yeah,
good Lord.
murder. Oh, yes, yes. The Richard and Maria Stewart. I don't want to disclose too much
No, I
information,
understand.
but
No,
yeah.
I know. So there's all sorts of things going on.
Yes, yes.
And was this a public event that people come
Actually, they
bring a
were
picnic to?
Well, if you had a picnic, you could probably bring it if you wanted to. But
Right.
the bells in the town here would toll to tell people, hey, get your chair out, come on down. It's a good day for a hanging.
So you brought your own chair. They didn't
Yeah.
supply seats of any kind.
Probably not, but no. Hanging used to be a family affair.
Really?
Yeah, and that was known the world over. That, hanging was, if spectator sport, really.
Right.
Except nobody involved, except who was being hung.
Isn't that interesting that
Yeah.
people would actually look forward
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
to say, well, next Sunday night, RobPatry, because he's owes.
Now, if I'd known that, I would have brought the noose with
Right.
me.
No.
Maybe I can hang
You know what?
around with you.
Well, there you go. But you know what? This is it right here. This is my
Okay.
news. They used to call this the corporate leash.
Yes.
I don't know if they still call it. No, you know what? Men don't wear ties that often anymore. It's kind of gone out of style.
Yeah.
It looks good though, don't
It
you think?
does, yeah. don't call you ZZ Top, but smart dressed man.
Well, thank you. It's very sweet of you. Thank you. So now, okay, so the jail, oh yeah, see, now I'm really interested. Now you've got, very curious to go down there and see what's going on. So you haven't spent a night in the jail?
I've spent many nights
in
that jail, yes. Yeah, and with all the paranormal teams that have been in over the last year.
Okay, now have you had that TV show, Haunted Canada? Has that been?
My lips are sealed, but we are going to be having a show. There is a show coming out in September. I hope John Moore is okay with me talking about this, called Into the Haunted Canada.
Okay.
And it is Ottawa Paranormal have been the last team to come in. Moncton Paranormal have been in. The Loyalist City Paranormal team have been in. The last two teams that have been in, I myself am not looking forward to the next paranormal team coming in myself, because I can't say what went down, but I myself can see why we don't let members of the public in there after dark.
So obviously this was an event that affected you?
Yes,
right.
yeah. Something happened between Moncton Paranormal's investigation and the Ottawa paranormal team coming in. And,
wow.
Yeah, I can't talk about either investigation because they're still debunking the evidence and they still have to present.
Right.
But the teams that have been in last year have all walked away, and the evidence is out there on their Facebook pages, on YouTube, on their personal blogs. There was a gentleman by the name of Marcus Green who came down and he had his camera ripped out of his hand.
You're kidding.
No, and there was stuff thrown off the filing cabinets, and everybody was actually locked in the jail, and the door to the jail was actually locked, so there wasn't anybody could get in because we were locked in. But yeah, and that's all over YouTube too. So
wow.
Yeah.
So now in this courthouse, so obviously there's all sorts of shenanigans going on there for the past 100+ years.
Oh yeah, because the courthouse opened in 1840, and it's still a current. It's actually Canada's oldest working Queen's Bench court.
Is that right?
Yes, it's currently closed for some work at the moment.
Yes.
But yes, and I personally think that the courthouse is more haunted in the way of unrestless soul, shall we say, than the jail.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Now,
they're angry in the court. I think they're still looking for justice, to be honest with you.
Some people may have been accused of crimes that they didn't commit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whereas in the jail, I mean, they're in jail. That's
right.
it. That's their sentence.
Yeah. So now they're walking through eternity, upset about their.
Yeah.
Right.
They prefer to roam around this ghost town.
You know, I wonder, do you think that after, I mean, not that I'm hoping to leave this mortal coil anytime soon, but I'm wondering after I'm gone, if I'll be haunting CHCO Studio.
Well, just think of the fun you could have.
I know, just aggravating future hosts.
Yeah.
And, you know, giving them a hard time.
I'm actually quite looking forward to returning.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, it would be fun.
It gives you something to look forward to, like hangings.
Exactly.
Back in the day.
Nobody's got hanged, but I mean, you could stalk people.
Yeah.
Nobody local, by the way, but you know, say Johnny Depp and people like that.
Oh, so, right.
Yeah.
So movie stars you'd like to stalk.
Yeah.
So you got a whole list going on?
No, it's just Johnny Depp, really.
Just Johnny Depp, yeah.
Sorry.
Captain Jack Sparrow, right?
Oh, yes,
yeah, a lovely pirate he was.
Oh, yes, he was.
Now, now I'm curious, because you said, okay, you've always had an interest in history. Now, back home, were you into the paranormal? Was this?
No.
Or was this something
No, I've always had an inkling. And I don't practice anything. I'm not a witch, or I don't do the boards,
satanic
or
rituals.
the Charlie.
Charlie, I don't even know what that is.
Oh, you don't know what Charlie is?
Charlie.
Okay, Charlie is a very early form of a Ouija board. It is a piece of paper, and you put yes, no, yes, and you get 2 pencils and you put them into a cross.
Okay.
And then you ask your questions. But as the same as in life, be careful what you ask, because you might not like the answer.
Right.
And you ask it things that only a yes or no can be answered.
Right.
I myself do not indulge in anything like that at all.
Okay.
Yep.
You prefer not to bother the spirits.
No, I don't see the point of. It is who you might invite in that you can't get to leave.
Yeah. Well, you know, as a child, I remember my sister gave me a Ouija. Is it Ouija or Ouija?
Yeah, a Ouija board. Yeah.
It's Ouija?
Yeah.
Ouija?
And now Toys R Us are selling them for young kids, which is totally wrong.
Yeah, my sister gave me one, and I think she would ask questions like, will I marry Bobby Sherman, and things like that. And I would always kind of push it towards yes or no, whatever way I wanted her to believe, which I suppose was somewhat manipulative. But, you know, but I think she got it for me to just find out things about her ongoing romantic life, which really had nothing to do with me. But, yeah, okay, so when you were in England, this was nothing that you really had an interest in, although were you always interested in history? Because England has got to be packed with history.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you knew, that's an old country.
Yeah.
Been around like with dozens of years.
More than a dozen.
Yeah.
Centuries, actually.
Centuries, yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
millions of centuries, I would think. Yeah.
And you're coming from the south part of England.
It's
so are you close
southwest
to
of London.
You're close to London, right?
Well, about 40 minutes southwest
Are
of
you into
London.
that Jack the Ripper stuff and all that?
Big time.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is. It's very fascinating.
I love that.
Yeah.
I loved all that. You know, that's what I liked to read as a child. I was very much into Edgar Allan Poe, and I loved reading about and Jack the Ripper.
Our man Poe.
Yeah. But Ripper was such a fascinating thing because I guess it never got resolved, and it was just the first. It was so creepy.
Well, it was really kind of the first serial killer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you see, England, you should be proud of that. You guys developed the first serial killer.
There was probably people before that.
Yeah.
But I think that because he was targeting women of the night, shall I say.
Yeah.
And because it was rumoured he was supposed to be Prince Albert.
Right.
So you've got that whole 9-yard thing where, you know, it's a serial killer, as we call them today. But and the fact that it's never been resolved.
Yeah. There were all sorts of rumors. There was another one that he was a doctor, I believe.
Right.
A Canadian doctor.
Then he was a gentleman there's the gentleman who left to go to Australia.
Yes.
It was rumoured to be him because they found his wife and child walled up in the house in Liverpool.
Right.
And he set sail on a ship to Australia where he met another woman and killed her on board.
Okay.
Settled in Australia to kill another woman and his children. And apparently his skull was in some museum, and it disappeared in 1970 and was returned in 1985.
Okay.
But it would be interesting to know who Jack the Ripper was, but I mean, I don't think we'll ever know.
But isn't it sort of the fascinating part about it, the part that we find, you know, draws us into the story, is that we don't know and we will never know, and that we can sort of think about it and use our imaginations.
Yeah.
And it's sort of a way you don't want anybody to ever find out.
Exactly. You want it to be a mystery for the rest of, you know, eternity.
Yeah, because it's just, it's so part of that sort of paranormal, scary, macabre, Edgar Allan Poe horror movie world. It's such a pivotal moment that that occurred. And I think to find out all of a sudden, well, it's Joe Smith or Tom Jones or whoever, it would sort of change the whole mystique about it.
Yes. Yeah, and then if you find out who it is, that's the end of that era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that's nice to not know.
Exactly. Sometimes not knowing is the best way to be.
Right, exactly. So now, are there any people in St. Andrews, I don't know if they're going to be a serial killer, but are there certain people that have a background or a sort of infamous personality or story that you're aware of?
Well, you were definitely out of luck if you were from England and your name was Thomas and you came to this town.
Okay.
Yes, because I talk about a lot of Thomases on the Ghost Walk, and 2 of them came from England. Thomas Dowd and Thomas Hutchins, the last man to be hung in this town, Sergeant Thomas Rowland Hutchins.
So he was from England?
Yeah, as the same with Thomas Dowd.
And what did he do?
Well, Sergeant Thomas Hutchins was hung for the murder of Bernice Connors.
Oh, okay, so it was a murder.
Thomas Dowd, rumoured to have and hung for the murder of Thomas Ward. And Thomas Dowd was hung over the door of the jail. It's called a suspension hanging. They saved on the lumber.
Okay,
How can he rest in slumber when his life ended with no lumber?
No, what's
As I
that?
put.
Okay, now what's that? A suspension hanging?
A
I've not
suspension
heard that.
hanging is where basically you're hung from a height, basically from outside a window.
Oh, I see. So rather than build a gallows.
Yeah, and open up the doors of the trap
Just
for the
push it.
gallows and you drop.
Right.
You are basically go out the window and it's snap. Your
Right.
neck is broken and it's history. It is rumoured that some suspension hangings, and it was the only suspension hanging from above the window. There are rumours that people were hung from trees, and I have had paranormal investigators ask me about the trees. And there is some kind of evidence out there that when there was shortage of lumber, then yeah, people would be hung from trees.
So they did whatever it took.
Yeah.
But it was so.
But I mean, this was 1800. It was what it was.
Right. Now, was there other? Now this is called corporal punishment. I take it. Is that what they call that?
Capital punishment.
Capital.
Well,
corporal's thing in school when they hit you with a ruler.
Yeah, with
That's the one I know about.
Okay.
That's what, you know what it was. It was the priests and nuns that I'm thinking about that are buried way at the back of my mind.
Oh, okay.
So, so capital punishment.
Yeah, in the school system, it's a cat of nine tails.
Right. Oh no, I didn't have anything like that.
I think it was
Iron
still law.
Maiden, or-
I think it was still law in the Isle of Man, England.
Were they
until 1985.
we're torturing people here? This wasn't like the Spanish Inquisition or a
Oh, were they torturing?
Torquemada.
Okay.
Here they weren't doing that, were
Well,
they?
yeah, because they used to have stocks in the town
But
square.
here,
Yes.
in the same place.
Yes, in the town
And
square.
people would throw tomatoes at you.
They could throw tomatoes at you.
Or tomatoes,
Or tomatoes,
sorry.
whichever
Yeah.
way you want to call
Yeah.
it. But no, you could be sentenced to... I do actually put up on the Facebook page certain events on this day in history.
Right.
I don't use the defendant's name because they could have family still here because of the last name.
Yeah.
But some people were put into the stocks.
Right.
Some people were whipped, for want of a better word.
Right.
But yeah, the stocks were
So was
used
it-
in this town.
Right.
Yeah.
The name Patry doesn't pop up in your mind. I don't have any descendants of the...
It could do after this
Really?
evening.
Look into that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think, geez, any of those relatives of mine do anything?
Well, I'm going to have to do a bit of searching
But I'm
now.
not. I'm not from here,
I
so
leave no, we used to have a volunteer called Master Entombed, and he'd leave no stone unturned.
Right.
Maybe I'll do a bit of research about you.
You do that. See what you can find out.
Yeah.
All right, Felicity, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And we're going to be right back with Felicity Cooper.
We'll be back on the other side.
On the other side, yeah. Ghost Walks of St. Andrews by the sea.
Okay.
Okay, we're back on RobPatry Live. Our guest this evening is the lovely Felicity Cooper from Ghost Walks of St. Andrews by the Sea. I think I got it right.
You did indeed.
I did. See, the spirits are with me now. Now, we were just talking about prisoner food during the break. And you were saying that for breakfast or lunch, or they get a cup of tea and some molasses
They
and
never got lunch.
no. Oh, they had breakfast and supper
The
or
jailer's
dinner.
wife would supply a mug of tea with some bread and molasses in the morning, and they would have that same staple in the evening. They actually didn't get a hot meal until I believe,
But the tea was-
late
the
1930s
The
to
tea
40s.
was hot.
Oh, it was probably like dishwash
Oh,
water.
it was cold, like iced tea. It was very
I don't think it was
refreshing.
iced tea. I think it was probably more like slop.
Okay, so they have tea and a piece of bread
And some molasses.
and molasses.
Don't ask me what molasses tastes like.
Crosby's molasses.
I've
No.
never tried molasses,
No.
actually, no.
But they called it treacle then, I believe.
Oh, okay, well then
You
I
had
have
treacle?
had... Yeah, I've had
I
treacle.
think it's the same thing.
Okay, well I'd have to try molasses.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Sugar and water, I guess. I don't know. Anybody know what molasses is? Call me in.
Yeah.
But
no, they didn't get a hot meal until like and off the top of my head, I think my brain has melted from the heat, but they didn't get a hot meal until the late 1930s stroke 40s, and that hot meal, if you could describe it as a hot meal, would be only once a week, and it was mutton stew, and anyone who's ever eaten mutton will know you can't really call that meat.
No, that's an old sheep, right?
That's right, yeah.
Like Scotch broth, I believe.
No, there's nothing wrong with Scotch broth.
No, but don't
Scotch
they use
broth
mutton in that?
But yeah, it's
a little
worn out lamb.
Right.
Yeah, it's old lamb. It's rough.
Yeah.
Rough and tough.
My dad was in the Navy and had a lot of mutton then. Mutton and rum. That's
my mother and father were in the Navy too.
Really? So then, so they probably had mutton and rum as well, which I don't think was very pleasant.
No, I don't mind the rum, but the mutton.
The rum is of course rum. Rum's fantastic. How could exactly?
Exactly.
To go back to Jack Sparrow, you gotta love the rum.
So
it was not a comfortable life for a prisoner.
Oh no, it wasn't designed.
And how many prisoners were in the jail?
Well, there was actually 9. There was actually 9 cells in the jail part downstairs.
Right.
As you come in on the left-hand side, there is a solitary confinement cell, which is a lot smaller than the other cells.
So that's for the troublemakers.
Yeah, and the doorway is even narrower than all the other ones.
Right.
And it doesn't have a window.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the others have windows.
Yeah, but no glass in there. But the windows are only...
It's not a room with a view. Not as bad as you make it seem, then.
Well, it is, actually. I wouldn't have described it a room with a view.
Right.
The windows are actually only 4 inches this way by a foot that way. So, I mean, and they have no glass in there.
Right.
And the walls are 2.5 feet granite blocks, so it holds the cold.
So it's always cold and damp down there.
It's always cold and damp.
Right.
I'd done a paranormal, one of the paranormal teams came in February. Thank goodness for survival suits, otherwise we would have all died in there.
It was so bad.
It was very, very cold.
Yeah.
But thank goodness for survival suits.
Right. What about conjugal visits? Is that going on back then?
You could take alcohol into the jail.
Really?
Yes, up until I think 1860. Like I said, my brain has melted for dates today.
That's okay.
But you could actually take in alcohol
so
when you went to visit.
Okay, so if I'm in there, you can bring me some rum or tequila. Well, I guess it wouldn't be tequila, but...
No, it was probably rum.
Yeah, it was rum. Yeah, that's all there was, really, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Okay,
Apart from potato whiskey.
Right. So you would bring me, what, a flask or something, and then I'd just sit there and get drunk?
Basically,
you know what? If you don't know, just make it up. No one will question.
Well, no,
us.
I mean, I don't know if they took a flask in. They probably took a Mickey or something in. But yeah.
Okay.
Now, as far as visits with benefits, shall I say, I don't know about that.
So,
but men and women used to share the cells downstairs.
Oh, there's women down there too.
Women. Not in the same cell, though, who knows, bit of hanky-panky.
Right.
But yeah, it was a sentence with benefits, I like to call it.
So now, when we go on the tour, can you go down? Do you take people down to the cells?
Oh yes. Well, firstly, I love to see people's expressions when I open up the doors.
Right.
And it's a very heavy door, and I actually say, "Okay, welcome to Hotel St. Andrews. Who wants a suite for the night?"
Right.
Yes. And the look and the shock of horror on people's faces is just priceless.
Right.
Because they can't believe it. And even though there is a light in there now in the hallway, the main corridor, it was always in the dark.
Right.
And it's a very dark place even on the most sunniest of days.
So in the wintertime, there's no heat?
There's no heat and a story down there.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, there was one gentleman who died in there, and his death was recorded by the coroner as a death by visitation and visitation of God alone. And he was found face down in his Bible in his cell. And a lot of people just actually died from how harsh it was. And one of the jailers actually brought in a live goose for his Christmas dinner, because the jailer and his wife and their children lived upstairs, which is now where the archives office is. And they lived up there, and this jailer had brought in a goose for a Christmas dinner,
Right.
and he put it downstairs in the cells, and unfortunately, the goose froze to death.
Okay.
I'd like to think that that is what is causing the hoof prints that we get appearing on the floor in the jail. We do actually have growling, and we've actually caught a picture of what can only be described as half man, half beast.
So like a half man, half goose?
Half beast.
Wow.
Half
So
beast.
not a goose
It
man.
growls. In fact,
Because you said hooves.
Hoof. We get hoof prints like a hoof. It's
Right.
an animal print of some description. And 3 different ghost walks last year on 3 different occasions.
Yeah.
3 different people caught.
So what do you think it is?
I don't know. I'd like to think it was the goose that froze to death, but I believe it could be something more than
But
that.
if it's the goose, he would be half man, half goose.
He would
and then
be,
he'd have,
but-
it would leave webbed footprints.
Well, I don't know. See, the picture that has been caught, which is on our Facebook page,
Yeah.
it is half man, half beast. It has a snout.
Right.
And
Not a beak.
Not a beak.
Okay.
And it's got like huge square teeth. It's not a goose. It doesn't have a beak.
Well, this is fascinating.
I know, it's kind of worrying.
Yeah.
Moncton Paranormal, when they were setting up to work out where the cameras needed to go, all of a sudden they heard this very loud growl, and I was so matter of fact about it because I'd heard it before, and as I
Right.
put keep calm and growl on,
Yeah.
but their team outside even heard it. It was that loud.
Right.
And we'd emptied what the there was one cell that was never, people weren't allowed to go in, and so we emptied it to debunk it to find out if there was an animal living in there, and there was nothing.
Right.
Nothing. And we can't explain the picture. It was taken by a visitor.
And that's up on your
On the
Facebook
Facebook page. And the entire Moncton Paranormal team heard the growl, and other people have heard the growl too.
Yeah.
And it's like it's not from outside, it's inside. It's inside the building.
Huh.
But we have regular tricks. Like a couple of years ago, there was a woman who was on the ghost walk, and we'd got into the judge's chamber in the courthouse, which
Yes.
is incredibly haunted, by the way. And I'm discussing what happens in the judge's chamber, and all of a sudden she looked down, and her necklace was on the floor, and she was like, "That's my necklace." Now, you presume that if a necklace has come off, the catch is going to be open. And it wasn't a necklace where you bent down and it came off your head. It
Right.
was a short string necklace.
Finding aid for all of this.
So she picked it up, undone the clasp, and put it on, and her cousin put it on. And not 20 minutes later, same thing happened. And I reminded everybody that we are in a court, and
Yeah.
most of the people who came through were guilty of their crimes, and maybe somebody wanted to take a piece of jewelry because other people have had jewelry removed.
So are you suggesting that somebody wanted to steal her necklace?
No, I think they wanted to make it known they were there. I mean, we've had weird things happen. Plus, visitors' posts and pictures can't lie.
No.
But yeah, so then we reported it, and the newspaper came down. The St. Croix Courier came
Yeah.
down, and the reporter brought a lady with her, and we're in the jail.
Yes.
And our crucifix came off, and again the clasp was on, and it wasn't. Yeah, and I just remind people we're in a court, we're in a jail. People who were in there had committed crimes, or maybe not committed crimes. So.
Right.
But yeah, weird things have always happened. I opened up the jail one winter to raise funds for the food bank, and some people came in, and one woman lost her earring, and it was found with the back on. In the spring, I had a gentleman come in, and he had one of those big earrings, and those huge ones.
Yeah.
And we see a photo of him coming in with the earring, and it just disappeared. But again, no explanation for it.
So you never found the earring?
Bracelets have fallen off people, and they look down, and the bracelet has been short, so it can't fall off the wrist.
So,
but the clasps are still on.
do you find this stuff?
Well,
like if you go
we
down.
had a gentleman from Treasures Canada, about 8 weeks ago, and I don't know, maybe he's got the pull, I don't know, but things started appearing out of the wall.
Really?
Yeah, and last year we actually found a drinking cup hidden in the roof of one of the cells. Yes, and that is one of the insane activity cells. But one of the ghost walkers had spotted it with the light of his camera.
Okay, now I got to stop you right there.
Yeah.
What you said, insane activity cell.
Insane activity.
Insane activity. Well, what's an insane activity cell? That's where they put the crazy
you hear
people.
Whistling of
it wasn't for the mentally insane.
No, although you would probably be driven insane in there.
Being there, sure.
Yeah, you'd have to have a very strong stamina to be in there without losing your marbles.
Wow.
For want of a better word.
Now, are people down there indefinitely, or have they got us like? Other than the people that were hanged, were they people that like got a 6-month sentence or a year or 2 years? So they just stayed there for a couple of years.
The most you could do in there was probably 2 years.
And then
other than that, you'd go to Dorchester Penitentiary.
Which is where?
In Dorchester, New Brunswick.
Where's that? I don't know where that is.
Oh, it's on its way to Moncton.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's okay. Go ahead, Patrick. You know what? Patrick's talking in my mind, or I'm thinking. You know what? It could be the spirit.
Could be voices from the other side.
What kind of cell? The window in the cell. Does that mean something to you?
Which window in which cell? The one with the
bar?
bar?
He's showing something here. There it is. What's that?
Okay, I think that's Thomas Hutchins. That's the end cell. That's where the last man was hung in 1942.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's his chair? Is that what he
No, we put these are the original beds, and the cells. The cells were so small, the beds actually fold in half.
Oh, okay. So, that's not nice.
Yeah, but no, we put in folding chairs because people love to be locked in there.
Really?
While I tell the story of who haunts which jail and the stats on it.
Okay.
They love it that I say, pick a cell, don't sit on the bed. That's why the chairs are there.
Right.
But if you swing over a bit, Thomas Hutchins is very friendly. He was a very nice, amicable man by all accounts. Even
and what did he do to get in there?
He reportedly hung Bernice Connors.
Who is?
She was the heiress and granddaughter to the Connors canning factory in Black's Harbour.
Oh, the New Brunswick.
Occupation Murder was the book.
Okay.
But he was the last man hung on the 16th of December 1942, and we actually have part of the gallows in the jail.
Right.
And gallows were always considered tainted wood and were supposed to be burned after each hanging.
So that, what we just saw, that was his cell.
Yeah.
Where he stayed.
Well, yeah, but other people have stayed in there.
Well, other people did too.
Yeah.
He wasn't the first, he wasn't the last.
No, he was not far from the last one. Yeah, but...
how about room service? They have room service?
I don't think so. They don't have tape delivery either.
Nothing.
Even though there were no glass in the window, they could have sneaked a pizza through. But yeah, no, it was desperate times.
Right.
Yeah.
So there was nothing good about it.
No.
I wonder, if you sent me in there for 6 months or a year, if you got out of there and said, you know what, I'm going to turn around, this life of crime is over, because I don't want to end up there again. You think was that a good deterrent, do you think?
Yes, it was.
Putting folks in there?
Yeah.
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 Probably no lifers. People keep coming back and coming back.
I think the jails back then was, a rude awakening.
Right.
I mean, say, for example, that you were going to jail.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have anyone to responsibly look after your children or your wife.
Yeah.
You would surrender them to the poorhouse in the town here. There was a poorhouse.
Right.
You would hand them over to the poorhouse and it would be their responsibility.
Oh, there's some gallows. He's showing something here.
That's right. Those are the gallows. Yeah. And there's the lever to open the trapdoor, and there's 2 sides to it.
Oh, what's that white thing there? It looks like a sink.
Stain.
Oh, it's a stain.
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be there?
That is how it is.
That's how it is.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, and there is actually a picture of the inside on that bench is actually a picture of how the gallows were.
Okay.
At the time.
Right.
But those are the last gallows built for the last
Now, is St.
hung.
Andrews more brutal than other places?
No,
or is
actually, I believe that they were actually quite, I guess the word would be politically correct, 1800, 1900
really?
style. Yeah, they weren't as deterrent as the word I think I'm trying to get to. They weren't as bad as some of the communities when you look at other places, like the jail in Dorchester. That was hard living. The jail in Woodstock, for example.
Right.
They were just bad times.
Yeah.
But here it seemed to be, I mean, it was a hard life, though I would imagine it was pretty hard life. But yeah, compared to what you could have got if you'd gone to Dorchester.
Right. Now you said that somebody was reading a Bible, so were they given Bibles to read to sort of...
if they wanted to read a Bible, they could read a Bible. Yeah.
TV? No TV? No.
No. No TV.
So that was it. It was a Bible. Probably not even the latest Harlequin romance.
Probably not.
No. So just
no Inquirer magazines or the St. Croix Courier.
So what'd you do? Were you allowed to talk to your fellow inmates?
I guess they could play cards. I mean, back then people amused themselves doing their own.
That's not so bad.
Well, depends how you amuse yourself.
You make it sound really bad.
Well, it probably was, but I think people had tended to.
Mind you,
feel their time different.
I always think that when we talk about things like this, I mean, times were tough anyway, right? It wasn't like you walked out of there and you had air conditioning in a car, and it was hard times for everybody.
It was.
Just that much harder if you went to jail.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So now, what about, I gotta ask, what are the floors like? Are they dirt floors?
No, they are solid granite floors.
Granite?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that'd be cold on your feet?
Yes. Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, you've just got to come out for a walk on the wild side.
Okay, so now, when's the next walk?
Friday night.
This coming Friday.
Yeah, you show up in the town square.
I show up in the town square.
Preferably
and I got to wear a special outfit or
No,
something?
you don't. There are safety warnings.
Safety? What kind of, like, I got to be careful. What's going on?
Well, we do have
Do I have to sign a waiver or anything?
You do sign my date of death certificate.
In case I die.
Yeah, it's $10 bail money, cash. For adults, under 16s is $5 bail money. It's easy to get into the jail. It's not that easy to get out.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's safety instructions, because don't forget, this town is ruled by the boys of the hoof.
The boys of the hoof. What's that? Hoof.
The deer.
Oh, the deer.
So I advise.
Well, maybe that's what's in the basement. A deer, a half man, half deer.
No, it doesn't have antelope things. But
antelope thing. You know what? I just,
yeah, you can tell I'm not. I don't know my animals very well. But
okay, you know what? I'm going to cut you off right here because we got to take a break.
That's okay. I hacked you.
Okay, so we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with RobPatry Live. See you on the other side. Felicity gives me back my card that has her name on it, so I don't forget that I remember that her name is Felicity Cooper, and
you can call me Misdemeanor.
Misdemeanor. You know what? I'll
misbehaving in the winter.
You know what? I won't remember any of this, so I'll call you Felicity Cooper. Okay. So now, about 2 months ago, I had on Stephanie Goff from not Fog Fest.
Fog Festival.
Fog Fest.
Yes, Stephanie. Yes, yes.
And there were a few other girls here, women. And see, is that being misogynistic by calling them girls?
Ladies.
Ladies, women. I was going to say women of the night. No,
no.
That was a joke. Ladies. You know what? That just popped out. I didn't mean anything by that. Okay.
I could hex him, but there you go.
You're
digging your own grave.
You know, yeah, exactly. Hexing me isn't going to help. It really isn't. You know what? The spirits usually going to be afraid of me, or just you say, stay away from this guy. He's trouble. So anyway, Stephanie's on. And there's a couple of ladies, and one of them mentions Felicity Cooper. And she says, oh, you know Felicity Cooper? And I go, yeah. And I didn't even know who you were. But I always, if somebody says something, I just agree, because I go through the whole thing about who you are.
Deny.
Yeah, so I just said, yes, I do. And they said that you were going to do some ghost walks or ghost stories in Campobello. And then you and I met at the CHCO booth at the trade show.
At the trade show.
Yeah. And
yes, I was working. I worked for Tradewinds. I was representing Tradewinds.
Tradewinds. Yeah, and you were there, and you came up to me and you said, if you ever have time, you come
out on a ghost walk.
Right.
Don't call me Lou Reed, but I'd like you to walk on my wild side.
Well, right. No, yeah, no, I won't call you Lou Reed. What was in Mott the Hoople? That's
Rolling Away the Stone.
Ian Hunter.
Yes.
So, it is Ian Hunter, isn't it? Yeah. So, now see,
Campobello, you were talking about the
ladies. Oh, yeah.
The ladies from Campobello.
The ladies from Campobello. Okay, so anyway, so you tell us the story about John Dunbar.
Oh, well, I won't tell the whole story.
You can't tell me the story.
I won't tell the whole story,
well,
but there is a riddle that I made up.
Give us the Reader's Digest condensed version.
Well, I will do a little teaser.
Give us a teaser.
Okay. Bearing in mind that I did go over to Campobello Island and I did cross 2 nations, 2 vacations, dressed 1800 style with a shovel in the back of my car and a
Okay,
skeleton.
so you went, so you crossed the border with a shovel with human blood on it.
No,
there was no blood.
No, but I was dressed 1800 style.
Okay.
I had a shovel and a life-size skeleton. And they asked me where I was
going. Wait a second. You had a life-size skeleton?
Yeah.
Where?
In the back seat of my car.
In the back seat.
It did have a seatbelt on just in case there was an accident. So did the shovel.
Okay, so you stop at the border, you stop at customs.
And they asked me where I was going, and I said, I'm going back 200 years to Campobello Island.
Okay, and did they find that funny?
Yes, they did. They thought it was hilarious.
Did they? Okay, so you didn't have to pull over, and there was no cavity searches involved?
No.
Nothing like that?
No.
Okay, good.
And then when I got back over the Roosevelt Bridge, the border guard there knew about the ghost walks because he's been on them.
Right.
And then coming back in the evening with all the fog and it was dark and the skeleton was now glowing in the dark.
The skeleton glows in the dark.
Yes.
Oh,
Painted it with luminous paint.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was it a real skeleton?
No.
Okay.
The border guard at the other end of the Roosevelt International Bridge, he was like, where have you been? And I said, I've been back 200 years. I've been looking for gold, but I was chopped up. And he was like, your skeleton needs a passport. And I said, I'll get right on to that. And he said, so actually, where have you been? And I said, well, I've been on Campobello. And he thought it was hilarious. And then when I came back into the Canadian side, I got thanked. They said, thank you for making our day. That's so funny. Where have you been? I've been back 200 years nearly.
Wow. So they were good with it.
They were very good. Yeah, I mean, Homeland Security is there for our safety.
Of course, our protection.
Our neighbours, our dear neighbours to the south of us in America, and our own, Canadian border. Questions are asked for a reason.
So when you were there, did you do like a ghost walk, or you did ghost stories?
Ghost walk. There was a lot of bugs, and I done it at the campgrounds over there.
Right.
But there was thank you very much. Firstly, Campobello Fog Fest is a great island, and it's a great event.
Great event.
I went over and I told them the stories about the ghosts that haunt this town, but the highlight was their own ghost that they have there.
John Dunbar.
No, Mrs. Dunbar.
Mrs. Dunbar. Oh, she's the ghost.
Yeah. I mean, John Dunbar was hung, but basically a riddle that I made up for people to always remember.
Yes.
And I do apologise that if you like your dill pickles, and I actually, people on TripAdvisor have said that they have never going to eat another dill pickle again.
Right.
But she was all in a pickle, and yes, she was soaked in brine. But to know who was chopped up and who hung for this terrible crime, you have to give me an hour and a half of your time.
Right. So
and I will tell
You're
people.
Going to tell us the story.
No, I'm not, because then people need to come out.
Right.
But yeah, Mr. Dunbar was.
You're quite the marketer, you know.
Yeah, I
and
make
promoter.
up all my own poems. They call me the Leonard Cohen of St. Andrews.
Right.
But yeah, and I find that people remember stories if they are in poem form.
Okay.
So I made up quite a few poems of my own.
Okay, so going back to John, I know you don't want to talk about, but I'll talk about it, and then you can nod yes or no.
I deny or no
Okay,
comment.
so you chopped her up and put her in a barrel full of pickles. Is that the?
No. He put her in brine, which is what normally pickles go into. But it was a pickling barrel.
Did she turn green?
I don't know.
Do you know that? Okay, here's an interesting story, which really has nothing to do with any of this, but it just popped in my head.
That's okay.
Did you know that they get back in the day, a long time ago, to get pickles really green, they used to put a penny in the pickle jar. Did
Really?
you?
No, I didn't know
Yeah, because the
that.
copper, I guess.
Yeah, because the copper does turn. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
but
takes,
apparently it's also a heavy metal.
it was.
So
yeah,
poisonous.
and that's not a band.
No, and I don't think it's a good thing. So
I
I
don't
think they
think so.
stopped doing that.
Yeah, that's
so,
almost like
don't try-
plutonium in your food.
Yeah, don't try that at home.
Yeah, don't try that at
But
home.
I know they did that. So maybe he put in a couple of dozen pennies in there with her.
Yeah.
So okay, so he put her in the brine.
Well, he put her in a pickling barrel,
But
and it had brine in it, which preserves
but
everything.
don't you find that unusual?
No, not really. I mean, who else? I mean, like.
No, but I mean,
Talk
okay.
of a relative today.
Okay, as an example, if I'm
Yeah.
going to kill you, why would I say, geez, I got to dispose of the body, so I'm going to open up a barrel of brine and nobody will ever think to look?
Well, he concealed her under, you know.
Maybe he thought that the brine would preserve her?
Well, see, the thing is, he lost his temper.
Oh, well then that
But it's a
explains
very
it all.
involved story because it never had an ending. Even President Roosevelt started looking for the gold. It involves everything. It involves
FDR.
Yes, it involves pickle. It involves gold that has never been found.
Okay, so there's a lot more to the story that you don't want to
Oh,
get
yeah.
into. I'm only fascinated by why somebody would put somebody in brine.
Well, I guess. Well, when you,
Of course,
when you panic,
Right.
you're not thinking
Right.
straight.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. So he panicked and he thought, geez, here's a perfect place to store Mrs. Dunbar.
My beloved wife.
Yeah. And then
Chop,
he
chop.
chopped her up and put her in he didn't even put her in whole.
No, well, he put the pickle barrel underneath the floorboards.
Okay. So you tell that story and people then are having adversity to eating pickles?
They don't like. They think
don't
of
like-
it because I say, you know, just
So-
think of
so-
just think of Mrs. Dunbar and John Dunbar.
Right.
The next time you see a pickle that's either in your dinner or as a
So-
decorative thing on
right,
a plate, or
yeah.
some people like pickles. I mean, I personally don't like dill pickles. I mean, you know, it's
So
each
you-
their own. But
no,
you know,
the-
and people say that they will never eat another dill pickle because they've got that memory of that
Right.
story.
Okay. How do you feel about dill potato chips? Or is
No, I don't like
Don't
dill.
like dill at all?
No, the dill.
Just
no.
that whole thing you're
That
not
whole
into?
thing, no,
Okay.
no, it doesn't do it for me.
Okay, well, you know, next time I'm having a pastrami sandwich.
I don't
and
like
want-
pastrami either.
Don't like pastrami?
No.
All right, all right.
No,
That's
salami, pastrami,
Nothing,
dill.
okay.
Yep.
So,
Gherkins.
no, you know, no pickled things of any kind? No. Is that an English thing?
Well, I like pickled onions, but they've got
That's
to
very
be.
British.
Yeah.
Those big round onions? Is that-
Yeah.
I know the ones.
Yeah, but I don't
those
like
are-
pickled eggs. They're good. And I also like cockles and mussels.
And isn't that a song or something?
Yeah, cockles and mussels, alive. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so now so when you were at Fog Fest, and so you talked about John Dunn, was there other people that you talked about? or
Yes,
was
I
it-
spoke about
There's all sorts of things.
Richard and Maria Stewart.
Okay, don't know what that means.
Oh, they were the husband and wife, or was it? Well, I can't really say.
Okay.
But they were double hung. How can they sleep in lumber How can they sleep in slumber when the lumber was so cheap to double hang? They were hung side by side in the town square.
All right.
And then, of course, there was Eliza Ward,
Hey, you
who
know,
made a deathbed confession.
I have a question for you.
We understand why Thomas Dowd is very angry in his cell sometimes.
I have a question for you. When they hang people then, it's hanged, right? Not hung. Hanged?
Hanged. Hanged. They were hung.
Did they put
They were
a-
hung. Yes, they would wear a hood.
Okay, so you didn't see their face and their eyes popping out and tongues hanging and lips going purple.
No,
and
they
stuff.
would put the hood on, the hangman, who there was actually nobody experienced or qualified in the province of New Brunswick
Really?
to do a hanging. Well, it's either going to go really good or really well.
So did
bad.
they
I mean, you
put-
can lose your head over it. Let's just
So
say that.
where they put an ad in the Globe and Mail and
No, the
or what do they
hangman
call
would
it?
always come from Quebec.
Workopolis.
Well, no,
Workopolis?
most of the hangmen who came to St Andrews or the province of New Brunswick were actually from Quebec, and they would come here under
Now,
a
why
assumed
is
name.
that?
I don't know.
But don't you find that
But
unusual?
it was actually a very good profession to be in,
I would
because
think so.
if you got called into the province of New Brunswick to hang somebody,
Yeah.
there was so much to come here, so much money for expenses, so much money for the hanging itself,
Right.
and so much money to return. I guess it was travel expenses.
Right.
If that person chose to take their own life in between A and B, they would still get the same amount of money. It was up to me. It was a good good profession to be in.
Okay, so if you committed suicide while you're waiting.
If the hangman was here, he would still be paid his full rate.
Yeah. Wow. So
Well, quite good business
yeah, I was
to
going
be
to
in.
say, geez, you know what? I'm always looking for a little extra cash on the side.
Who isn't? Who isn't?
Oh, and from Quebec, that's where I'm from originally,
Oh,
Montreal.
right.
So it's right up my
Yeah.
alley. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And now, how many people were hanged a year?
Well, there was our friend from the island. He was hung in 1700 something, and he was actually one of the first people to be hung here. Then there was the Stuarts in 1826 who were made an example of from all others entering works of destruction. That's
This
what
is
they
the
said.
Stuarts, who's the couple.
That's the couple. They lived out at the Shantytown area of town by the
Where's Shantytown?
where the town used to have a big slave population, and it was at the Niger Reef Two Rooms, where the Niger Reef Two Rooms.
Oh, where
are now.
that the
yeah,
blockhouse
where the golf
is.
course is. That's where the population of the slaves lived, and Richard
Yeah,
and Miss Stuart
you know what?
were slaves.
I'm running out of time here.
Yeah,
'cause
we're
going to have to come back.
I would love to come back.
And come back and tell us more of
I
these
want you
stories.
to come out and walk on my wild side, because then you might survive. I think it's a date, Rob.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I'll come out. I'll be crying like a baby.
Oh, that's okay. I'll sage you down first. Carry sage. I've got some rosary beads.
Do some, what do they call it?
Sage,
Saging.
yeah.
saging.
And wear rosary beads.
Oh, is Patrick saying something? What are you saying, Patrick? Okay, so it's over. Okay, well, thank you, Felicity. It was
Oh,
great.
no problem,
You know
thank
what?
you.
That went by too fast.
It did. Time flies when you're having fun.
It does.
But
Thank you.
very
Thank you
much.
so much, and we're definitely going to
And
have to
join
have
us
you
for a
again.
ghost walk.
Yeah, Ghost Walk this
yeah.
Friday. What
Hey,
time?
It walks at 7 o'clock.
7
On
o'clock.
the dot.
And where do you meet?
In the town square at the benches between the post office and the Red Herring.
So get out there and go see the Ghost Walk. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.